Are they ready? I just hit it to go live.
Okay, that's what we were waiting.
Yeah, no, I thought I saw his
Alright.
arm go, so it just took a minute to go live. It should be
Get in
ready to
your
go.
line. Get in your line. We're good. Okay. All right, I'd like to call this January 24th Ag Planning Authority meeting to order. First order of business, got the minutes from the November 22nd, 2022 meeting. First one by Jay, second by Dave. Any comments? All in favor, signal saying aye. Aye. All right, first up, soil and water. How are you, Karina?
I did send a resolution back from.
Yes.
Okay, a form.
I got it.
Okay, but I'll make it quick because I know you've been busy and whatnot. Basically, there is group in central New York that has formed. It's a loose coalition called the Watershed Help Coalition. They have a person that is kind of a professional lobbyist that is working with them, and they have managed. This person has managed to change conservation district law in 4 or 5 other states across the country. The group doesn't really understand completely how the soil and water conservation districts work in the state and how funding sources work. And so they have a draft. It's not at bill status yet, but they want to submit this draft and have somebody sponsor it and try and change quite a bit about conservation district law. And they want to, there's a lot of pieces to it because they've gone through basically all the conservation district law, which is a small book compared to a lot of the other law around the state. So they would be making changes to ag and markets law, environmental conservation law, soil and water conservation district law, soil finance law, and the local county law. One of the main things that would affect the local county would be the makeup and composition of the board of directors. They would, instead of having an appointment of folks by the board of supervisors, they would have those 2 positions in the county actually be elected officials. They would take away the requirement that those folks would have to reside in the county. That's kind of like the basic part that affects the local level. A lot of other county boards of supervisors and legislatures across the state have already drafted resolutions against this. Farm Bureau is against this. The New York State Range is against it. And I'm sure there's going to be other groups that are against it. The long story short is they are adding a lot of language that is unnecessary and could be restrictive in how we do our work and the scope of the work that we do. Conservation district law has a lot of fluidity to it. And, you know, we work on soil health. We work with watershed coalition organizations. We work in partnerships a lot, and they're trying to drill the language down to soil health and not, you know, moving from ag soils to all the soils in the county. Well, soil is soil. That's underneath all of us. It doesn't need to be so clearly defined, I guess. We have a lot of latitude within the law as it is. It doesn't need to be added to. Some other things is they want to do some taxation on fertilizer and chemicals and dump that into a special fund, and then that special fund will be used to do remediation for watershed health and soil health and whatnot. Well, it's already being done. So they're trying basically to reinvent the wheel. due to lack of understanding. So I did draft a simple resolution. I have yeah, I can review what Farm Bureau had for their and their lobby, basically that they oppose any alterations to soil and water conservation district laws that would change the makeup, mission, and function of state and county soil and water conservation districts without the statutorily required inclusion and input from county boards of supervisors or county legislators, New York Farm Bureau, New York State Grange, New York Department of Ag and Markets, and the four-way partnership between Natural Resources Conservation Service, New York Association of Conservation Districts, the State Committee, which is our statewide board of directors, which are all appointed positions by the government, and the Employees Association of the Soil and Water District System. So, I mean,
I would move a resolution to the board and support keeping soil and water as it is.
Second. Motion by Jay, second by Dave. Further dialogue? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
thank you.
You're quite welcome.
I will.
That's a no-brainer. We didn't.
Well,
Yeah, it
it's,
should be a practice. Yeah, wow. It's been a quick morning. You know, like.
I appreciate it.
It's the perfect time to ask them to
I
be
will come
against
back
it.
with responsibility.
We're all trying for that.
Thank you, Rita.
Sorry, Todd, I didn't expect you. You said that before you.
All right, Todd, you're up.
Does anybody need a copy of Todd's report? Anybody not have one?
Thanks, Chairman.
That's
So here we are. Yeah, another year, another activities report. I'm Todd Erling, Executive Director of Hudson Valley Agribusiness. Apologize for the mask. We have a COVID exposure. I tested negative this morning, but can't be too safe anymore. Just wanted to thank everyone here for their support. Our colleague with Laura being one of our longtime relationships. We provide economic development and community development services for agriculture, food systems, food dependent agriculture related businesses. We work very closely with Laura, but we also work with Extension, soil and water if necessary. Some of the highlights in the report, our Incubator Without Walls program. When you get to the second page there, it goes through some of the individual businesses we work with directly here in the county. Happy to go into that directly, but I think some big picture comments are important. Number one, these projects often take more than a single year. So we really appreciate the year-over-year contract that we have with you and the opportunity to interact. Number two, we also appreciate how this is built directly into the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan and other policies of the county to make sure we support agriculture and the food systems with community and economic development efforts. So within there, you'll see a historic pattern. We worked with fiber in the county. We've also worked with meat processing in the county. And I wanted to highlight the fact that even though some of these things don't necessarily go somewhere directly this year over year, they often land and we find opportunities for financing, grants, et cetera, investment. And so the second thing on that, when you get to page 3, is processing and Moxie Ridge and looking at dairy processing. So, it has not just been the alternatives that we have with sheep and goat, but we've also worked historically with historic cow processing. And when you jump down to our cultivator article on page 4, Argyle cheese was highlighted because I don't know if you all were aware, but our National Association of Ag Directors across the nation had their annual meeting here in Saratoga, Upper Hudson Valley, and Argyle was one of the visitations that happened with directors and commissioners from all over the country coming in to see that as an example of what's happening not only in New York State, but the Northeast. Direct access to market, value-add processing for historic commodities, et cetera.
And I won't take credit for that, but I will say.
We make suggestions, it's not always followed, but we make suggestions. And the fact that it was just over in Saratoga, we felt Washington County had several suggestions and we were happy, one occurred. Big picture as well, HVAC is now have a loan fund that can complement Deanna, that can complement Beth, and some of the other things that are happening. And then last thing I'm just gonna put out there, we don't have it formally, but I signed it. HVAC has been approached by the state to implement the red meat processing program that was in last year's budget. So that's a statewide program where there will be grants available to existing meat processors to expand or maintain USDA status and market access, or existing processors that are looking to go that route being able to expand. And it would be grants from $50,000 to $250,000, very similar to the Grown and Certified program that we worked with in the past few years. That was put in there by the budget through the Senate and the Assembly committees, Chairwoman Ricardo, Chairwoman Hinchey, and we worked directly with Ag and Markets to come up with a program to implement it. So those are some big picture things I just want to point out. So happy to take individual questions.
Well, I'm thinking that's what I would say, more USDA for a while, because they still aren't. And they
Custom meats.
with that,
Big Red custom meats.
well, I'm just
They've
thinking.
been pushing off expansion for years.
Oh, no.
Locust Grove, I mean, we have
I'm just
several.
thinking that was a really good one, and if we could get a younger generation in there, that would be a huge
Because you-
thing for business that's already there.
Yeah, and I will just say, it's a $5 million line item in the state budget. It actually is a 4-year window of implementation. We approach this in a way that we understood how the Grown and Certified program went in the region, making investments in individual businesses that help them get grown and certified or stay grown and certified. And we mirrored that for the meat processing. And it can be poultry as well. It's not just red meat.
If we could get USDA back to all of them instead of just a few.
Yeah.
So-
And the other question is, because it came up today for a long time, where's your position with solar and how you affected that around farm community?
Sure. So we have worked closely with this idea of quote unquote smart solar, home rule derived independent. We have not necessarily applied any individual services or our programs to solar projects, but we have been making references to American Farmland Trust, agrivoltaics, and smart solar siting programs. And we have actually had several land trusts come to us and come up with suggestions for policy moving forward on land that has already had agricultural easements or state funds applied to it. Individual landowners and assessment, we still support the idea that it's a home rule situation and it's an individual landowner's, priority. And from there, just like anything else, whether it's small scale beverage, like the craft beverage industry, we've seen that be challenging at times. We just get into it the way we would with other agricultural uses.
House business didn't go
Well, malting and brewing and distilling are still happening either way, but I hear you. The only other thing I'll mention, we talked about it in the hallway, we've been approached by several firms to look at agrivoltaics. So not just looking at single use fields of panels, but examples of South Korea, Germany, New Zealand, Japan, Australia, where you actually lower the density of the panels, make them often mechanical, they can swing out. South Korea is actually running combines right through the fields, and you can get 2 crops off of 1 piece of property. And we're not just talking about the grazing of goats or sheep. We're talking actually about very traditional crops, whether it be field crop or whether it be vegetable and larger scale dairy and red meat. And I think that's really going to be the answer, because the studies have shown if you can give the landowner multiple avenues of income over that 20-year period versus a single avenue, whether it's making a choice of only commodity crop or only solar in the PV, the diversification is the way the landowner, and it'll get you to that next generation when the 20-year lifespan of the panels are done.
Motion to approve contract.
Motion approved. Second by Dave. That's it, okay.
It's just accepting my report.
He's required to report every year. I didn't know it's gonna be contract.
It's all good today. Trust me. I'm always looking for support for the next one.
That would be good, yeah.
Motion to accept.
report. Motion accepted.
Second by Brian. All in favor, signify. Chuck, did you have something?
Yeah, quick question. I haven't met Todd. I'm Chuck Barton, involved in Warren, Washington IDA. Has your organization teamed up with IDAs to try to encourage investment into the ag world?
Yeah, so so my background is actually as a deputy director of an IDA and Empire Zone director and all the other alphabet suits. And in some counties, we actually contract directly with the IDA versus county planning and economic development. So yes, and even in counties like Columbia, like Dutchess, or like Washington, we're working through county planning. Albany, we have a great relationship.
I'll give you a call. Thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No, I'm on Karen again.
I don't have any bananas in my pocket, guy, but
You can watch me later.
the other thing is I will say, nothing against anyone, but Laura and I talked about it. I'm gonna head out. I was negative when I came this morning, but I also recognize I don't want to give anyone unnecessary.
You've been pretty negative all day today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Have a good day.
All right, Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board.
Anybody need that
Ms.
report?
Gillis.
I thought Sam was gonna take the team.
Oh, it is? It is, Kevin?
Yeah, in the packet.
All right, well, thanks everyone for having me in today.
You've been here before, huh?
Well.
One pager.
Yeah, oh yeah, listen, it's not my first rodeo. So I just wanted to give you some highlights of our 2022 work. The regional planning board staff authored and submitted 41 grant applications across our 5 counties, all at no charge to our municipalities and partners. 10 of those were for Washington County projects, totaling $13.5 million in grant fund ask. 4 more were regional projects that included Washington County. So far, and about 35% of the grants that we've written have not been awarded yet. But so far, 3 of the Washington County grants have been awarded as of the end of last year. So a capital improvement planning grant for $55,000 for the sewer district, a sanitary sewer replacement grant for sewer district number 1, and then also a complete street policy and implementation plan for the village of Cambridge. Grants that we're managing that we had previously secured, the Washington County MS4 mapping and enhanced pollution reduction. That's for the county, Kingsbury, Hudson Falls, and the 2 Fort Edwards as part of the MS4 program. The state Speedy's permit for their stormwater discharge. They had to do increased mapping and it purchased a new vac truck for the county. The roadside erosion remediation grant that we got, just over $500,000 last year. That's for roadside erosion projects for the county and also a project in Kingsbury. The $500,000 culvert replacement grant we secured last year. So that's also culvert replacements for the county, but also for the towns of Putnam, Hartford, Jackson, and Granville. And we secured funding for the county to purchase a salt brine maker, which has been purchased and installed at the Whitehall DPW. And we are assisting the Washington County Fairgrounds with managing a broadband infrastructure grant that they got from the EDA this summer with Laura's help. Some community and economic development stuff. We've been working with the town of Salem extensively on many things, but most notably the wastewater system, same in the village of Cambridge. And also we secured the funding for planning and engineering at the Canal Side Energy Park in Port Edward. We secured an EPA technical assistance grant for the village of Granville to do an outdoor recreation for Main Street economy plan. And so we're in the middle of doing that right now. We've been working with the village of Argyle on a drinking water source protection plan, which is about wrapping up. Next, I was working on town of Hebron community vision and strategy with Brian and his folks over there. We secured AGFTC planning assistance funding for Fort Anne, the village of Argyle, the village of Cambridge, and the village of Fort Edwards. So those are projects that will be happening in this coming year. And we are in the middle of a rural workforce transportation plan, partnering with AGFTC. Laura's on our committee for that. In our loan program, we only did 1 loan in Washington County this year for $175,000, but of the 49 loans in our portfolio, 9 of them are Washington County loans, totaling almost $1 million in loan capital.
Any questions for Beth?
Okay, so
Having heard how much the regional planning board already does for us, Beth and I have had some discussions about other things that the agency has the capacity and interest in doing. Mr. Nolet introduced at finance last week an opportunity that came about through some federal funding that we are eligible for. That's essentially sort of a byproduct of all of the ARPA funding that would allow the county two $50,000 payments over a 2-year period. And Al had requested that he's been working on submitting the grant application for it, and it indicated that the idea was to put at least some portion of that money into ag planning budget. I would like to propose, as one of the services that the regional planning board now has is the capacity to offer loans. We've talked about the need to do something similar with non-agricultural related businesses, general small businesses, to offer them a model that's very similar. Todd was trying to be quick and get out. Part of what they offer is a technical assistance program to work with agricultural business owners. It could be any kind of business consulting if you're looking for transition, if you're looking for marketing assistance, if you're looking for financial planning, any sort of technical assistance that you need for businesses is funded directly through HBDC. I would like to propose that we take 50,000 of that federal money and allocate it to a technical assistance program that is going to be run by Lake George Regional Planning Board.
Making a motion, Dave?
No, I'll make a motion for discussion.
Second by Brian. Any discussion?
So what I was thinking about is that's a very key resource to a lot of businesses. Is this something, and this is probably shooting, is this something we want to reach out to other counties to see if they want to help fund it or not?
So we've already secured $150,000 from Warren County through their ARPA money to do the same thing in Warren County. And that's actually what facilitated the conversation more about doing it in Washington County. So that Warren County money can only be used in Warren County, and this Washington County money would only be used in Washington County for Washington County businesses. But yes, I do have a plan to talk to some of the other counties and see if they'd be interested.
So this is a motion to earmark $50,000 of the $100,000 that I'll secure out of his left back pocket to make a planning grant available to small businesses in Washington County.
Well,
Did I read that right?
the money would be allocated to the regional planning board to award.
Okay. So we give it to Beth. Dave has nothing to do with it. We just give it to Beth. I'm good with that.
The plan is
You found it. All right.
So the plan is to secure consultants to work with businesses. So to have a myriad of on-call consultants that would.
But I will say a portion of that money would have to, because they have to expend resource to manage that. So some portion of each loan or grant that is made to a business would reimburse the regional planning board for their effort to manage that process.
Good, Rob.
So what other opportunities are available out of the 100,000? Why is this a better choice than this one? Just trying to see what is available that we can do with it. I warn you, don't bring it up with Beth around. You'll find something. Funny for this.
Well,
not to do other things, because I think that's a great idea. But with the remainder, you're looking for.
Well, I guess my question was, is there 100 things and this is just one and there might be 50 that are better? I don't
I
know.
have one other thing,
Okay.
but it wouldn't take Laura's money. It would take
The
the other half.
second 50.
Yes.
Okay.
And that item would be our sign out front, which is due to be taken out. And we were gonna have DPW put in a new Washington County sign replacement of it because it's falling apart.
Is this a neon electric
I
sign?
would like to put up an electric sign so that we can communicate with the public better when we are closed and important messages that we want to get out.
Take it
Not
out, it's like
necessarily
time. You
neon,
already know, you know that.
but it's an expensive investment. And, but if we're gonna replace the sign, I'd rather replace it with something that we actually could use, would want. And because the funding is available, something we don't have to budget for.
I make a motion, we use Brian's truck to power it. Can we incorporate slate into this sign?
I'm sure we can.
We can.
Because then you were, well, I don't want you to be a no for, those reasons.
That'll do it.
They will buy it from the Scott.
You know,
So it's 50,000.
they vary greatly. I think anywhere from 30 to 50,000.
So I worked running hotels for a couple
But I
of years.
would-
I can tell you those tall hotel signs that you see, the roadside ones, just the standard ones that are up right next to the road. They're about 75,000.
The Denny's
Install.
one killed a person in the car last week. I don't know. So they started in Kentucky. It came
Just
down and
for,
crushed the driver.
Ours will be ground level.
Thank God. it's not-
yeah, I think it's ground level, depending on how many lights and bells and whistles. on it.
When you don't have.
You can get to 50,000 pretty quick.
People don't know.
I just go ahead and put Dave's up there because I'm so old. I don't want to ruin this, you know?
All right, so we currently have a motion on the floor to award 50,000 to the regional planning board for
Small business
small
planning.
business planning.
And that's meant for consultants.
Right.
Technical assistance, but small business.
All in favor, say the thing aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries.
If and when the money comes in, you'll see resolutions financing it.
So that was a motion to finance.
Yeah, don't pitch it right now.
Right now, we don't need to take any more action until the money.
Oh, it doesn't make it, okay. good.
Yeah, I rejected it.
I have applied for it. I have applied. For it.
Then that's-
So we worked with that on a culvert issue through this program that had been band-aided in North for 25 years and radically changed everything and put in a huge tube and it's a big game changer and we could have never done that without that. But about a year ago. We didn't work with it, we were able to.
All right, Brian, was it? Matt, you seconding it? Or?
I'll second it for that. What kind of sign did you want to do?
That wasn't the details.
Dave seconded it, you know. Are you really seconding it with Slate or?
No, It sounds really good.
I know, I'll change my case.
There's a motion to allocate the other $50,000 that Al found to.
Laura.
Okay, Laura. To Melissa for a new sign out front. Design, but no more than $50,000.
Correct.
It would allow the community messaging and stuff to be digital.
And tourism message.
Yeah, because once you say community, it's everything. It's a community,
Our
right?
message.
I mean, this-
To the community. Meaning it's a municipal message.
That's
But
right.
how does that factor into Cassie's committee with the whole facility, ground maintenance?
This isn't even.
Like,
Gotta make it movable, man.
okay, that's right. Portable.
Something wasn't gonna happen.
I mean, you don't want to put a big sign and then have to, oh, we're gonna do this.
You only authorize money.
Go ahead, Brian.
You gotta go for like drive it through so they can watch YouTube out there and see the meeting in case.
Stop.
You
They're
know.
hungry. There any chocolate left?
Any other dialogue, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? All right, good.
I don't know.
No, we were making. Right now.
Sorry. Sure.
Brian, okay, the motion to accept the report.
We can have you back again next year.
I know this is what you need most.
We don't really.
We don't, okay, if it's all in favor, say the thing aye. We're getting there.
There's no report that somebody says, well, we never
It
came.
applies the minute she makes it.
All right, next-
it's recorded.
Next on the agenda is the planning agency 2022 year-end summary.
Does everybody have a copy of that? Okay, part of the GML 239 requirements are that we just present a summary at the end of the year of the business that the planning agency conducted. So as you're all aware, the planning agency consists of Chairman Griffith, Deborah Donahue from DPW, Allison Gaddy, who is the senior planner at Lakewood Regional Planning Board. That is another service they do for us. So we are tasked with reviewing county or local municipality planning projects that are referred to the county under a specific set of circumstances, like they're on a county road, et cetera, et cetera. So this just gives you a summary. In 2022, we saw 25 referrals into the agency. And just so that you're aware, this requires a considerable amount of effort on the part of our planner to review all of these projects, make sure that we have all of the documentation, write up a summary to present to the planning agency for the planning agency to then. So on this first page, you see it again that there were 25 referrals, 18 site plan reviews that came to us. And on the back page, that was done essentially to give you an indication of where the majority of referrals in the county are coming from. So over the past 5-year period, which is the period in which we have had a planning agency in existence, which superseded our previous volunteer planning board, Town of Kingsbury has had the most significant number of referrals, with about 42 of them in over a 5-year period. But this just indicates to you where we are seeing the majority of referrals and activity back in the planning agency.
Does it reflect the heart of the county then?
The heart of the county does not send us anything.
Because of the whole thing. Being as much as.
Any further questions for Laura with the planning agency recap?
Yeah.
Keep it going, Laura. Ag and Farm Protection Board reappointment next February. Who moved it? Jay, second by Dave. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so I have one other thing that is not on the agenda, and this you don't have. a copy of.
Those are the ones that have been killing us all day long.
It'll be quick. You'll like it.
Oh.
Like it.
Because of that.
So, I attempted to put together a quick summary of the grant applications that went through both CFA and non-CFA processes during the year. It used to be that they were all announced sort of at one time at the end of the year. It is not happening that way anymore. You have to sort of dig and find these, but this essentially indicates which program, BOA's Brownfield Opportunity. Village of Fort Edward got $48,000 for CDBG for some planning and engineering, Climate Smart, etc. I put the Office of Community Renewal Housing grants on here only because, even though these awards were not to Washington County, as you know, we saw the dissolution of Homefront, which was the only agency in the county that was, they had direct ownership of senior housing, which is being transferred to another agency right now. So Rebuild Saratoga was awarded the amounts that I indicated here. My understanding is that the existing senior housing facilities are being sold to a company called Regan Development, and Regan is partnering with Rebuild Saratoga. So it is my hope that some portion of these funds may be able to be used in Washington County. The only grants that have not yet been announced are the WQIPs. And again, I know Regional Planning Board wrote a couple of them on our behalf. We haven't heard on those yet. And then the final thing we have not heard from on the state grants are the New York Forward grants, up to $5 million. I believe 3 villages in the county applied for that. Finally, on the federal side, as you are aware, I requested from Congresswoman Stefanik $1 million to assist in the deployment of new broadband connections. That award was formally made, and through a request to Senator Schumer, Gillibrand, and Stefanik, Greenwich was awarded $4.4 million to build this water. So that's just the summary of what has been awarded. As I said, we have not yet heard of New York Forward, WQIP, but I'm hoping that we will hear on that shortly. And I'm done.
Great stuff. Go ahead, Dan.
The new water treatment plant for the village of Greenwich, is that now going to cover all of Greenwich, the village, all of the village, or good?
I believe so. I know they are extending it, but I'm not, we'd have to talk to the mayor to see what, I haven't seen the actual plans for it.
That only covered, it would be the river side of the village of Greenwich, very small amount, right?
Mhm. I believe.
It
isn't it?
really needs
Yeah.
to take more of the village.
Mhm. I believe it does, but I'm not sure if it's the entire village.
And what's the update on the RFP for
So that was one of the things that I took. off
Ooh,
the
you just
agenda because it was
pulled
gonna be,
it
because it's gonna be a very long discussion. I'm still working on creating. It's taking me about 10 hours per community to review each committee to come up with a final determination of who is eligible. I'm hoping that I will have that done within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll get the RFP out, and then once I get responses to the RFP, we can discuss what the cost implications are and what we might want to proceed with.
I'm looking forward to it being done. I mean,
Me too.
broadband in general, because we worked on it for so many years. Since I got here, we've been talking about broadband.
G, next.
Yeah, we would really like it to be, say, you know, it'd be nice if in your tourism stuff, you could say, hey, we're 100%. That would be great.
No, but you've been talking about it since you got here, but we made a lot of progress since you got here too.
Oh, yeah, but you want it finalized, like Roger said, when do you declare victory? You want it to the point where you say, we've got it.
What is this technology? Yeah.
Okay, it's technology can change it, but at least if you have broadband to begin with, it can change. You don't even have something to change if you don't have it.
We're getting there.
We're gonna get a meeting.
Any other business to come before this meeting? This,
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, they do.
yeah, oh, yeah, we did. Thank God. Thank God. With no other business to come before this meeting, we're adjourned. Laura.